So we're starting to learn today the halachot of the 9 days, since just today, Rosh Chodesh, we're towards the end of Rosh Chodesh Av, the beginning of Av, and it's appropriate to learn about the 9 days. We will not have time to learn about Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, and the fast. And also next week, since we learn on Wednesdays, and Wednesday will be already Tisha B'Av. So also we want to learn about the fast of Av. I do want to mention one interesting topic about Tisha B'Av and learning Torah. Because usually we don't get to the question of learning Torah on Tisha B'Av. We talk about the fast, we talk about eating, drinking, people who aren't feeling well, who can eat many times during the fast. So just one halacha, interesting halacha about Tisha B'Av. One of the things we do not do on Tisha B'Av is learn Torah. Okay, so we don't learn Torah on Tisha B'Av. And there are two reasons for not learning Torah on Tisha B'Av. One is because Torah makes you happy. When one learns Torah, he feels happy. And the other reason is that we want to be focused on the fast. And when one now learns Torah, so his mind is set on something else, and he isn't focused on the fast. So that's two reasons for not learning Torah. It brings a question: we are allowed to learn Torah on Tisha B'Av if it's connected to the fast. If it's connected to the fast, we can learn Torah. We can learn the Agadot in Masechet Gitin, about Par Kamsa and other sayings of Chazal, teachings of Chazal that are connected to the destruction of the temple and the exile. We can learn the harsh nevuot in Yirmiyahu and other harsh things that we can learn and bring us to be focused on the fast. There's an interesting question in the Poskim: are you allowed to learn it? Is it permitted? Or it's an obligation to learn those things in the fast? We won't go into it now, since we just want to touch it just in a nutshell. But in the end, we many times go to Shurim on the fast about Tisha B'Av, and probably there's something positive about it, because today, when we aren't used to saying Kinot all day, people don't concentrate so much like in the past. Today, for us to feel the fast and be concentrated on the fast and to learn from the fast, so for us today, it's by going to a shiur or by learning Torah, which is connected to the fast. So perhaps we can say today is an obligation. It doesn't matter how you hold. In our days today, when we usually don't sit for Kinot for such a long time, and many shuls cut the Kinot short, and we say just part of the Kinot. So today we feel the fast, we feel the sadness of the fast by going to shiur and learning about it. So perhaps today it's more of an obligation to learn Torah on Tisha B'Av, which is connected to the fast. So that's about a small topic. We'll study today about the topics of the 9 days. Okay, 9 days. So Chazal say in Masechet Ta'anit, Mishenichnas Av mema'atim besimcha. When the month of Av comes in, we reduce joy, reduce happiness. We're getting closer to feeling like as if we're sitting Shiva on Beit HaMikdash. So it's still not mamash the fast, but we're still getting close to it, so we reduce joy and happiness. So although someone who's sitting Shiva, he stays in his house and he doesn't go out, we can work, we can do needed things, but we reduce things. What does it mean, reduce? So we don't buy things which have a special joy in them unless there's a very, very big need. For example, someone usually is happy when he buys a car. Let's say he has a car, he just wants to renew his car. Or something smaller, a sofa. If someone wants to buy a new sofa, not to do it during the 9 days. He wants not to have his cell phone is working. He wants the nice, best, I'm not sure what the best one is today, or the iPhone 16 Pro. And he has 15, lo aleinu. It's not the best one. He can wait until after the 9 days. He shouldn't buy it during the 9 days. When there's a loss from not buying so one can buy it. For example, one of my students asked me about a shirt. Yes, he mentioned a shirt that costs 250 shekels. He can find it now for 80 shekels. He can buy it during the 9 days. Okay, but anything which isn't of loss, so we don't do on the 9 days if it brings to joy. That's one thing we don't do. Another thing, even before we go to the second thing, even if it's buying things that we can postpone until after Tisha B'Av, we should postpone it. For example, we need food. Okay, so one can go to the grocery shop and buy food, and you can do that. Let's say now one wants to buy something small to the house. There's no big, great joy in that, but he can postpone it for a week or two, so he should do it and postpone it for a week or two. So that's about buying things. Another thing we don't do on the month of Av is eating meat and drinking wine. From the times of the Gemara, what the Chazal mentioned that is forbidden, so the Seudam Seket, the meal just before the fast, that is the meal that we are not supposed to eat wine, drink wine, and eat meat. But because there is joy in meat and wine, and because Chazal said, "Mishenichnas Av mema'atim besimcha," and because also those things, meat and wine, are things that they used to bring as a korban for Beit HaMikdash. So it already became a custom from the times of the Rishonim to refrain from eating meat and wine on those days. The Timani still stick to the minhag of the Gemara, and they refrain from meat and wine only on the Sudan of Seket before Tisha B'Av, but also the Ashkenazim and also the Sfaradim start much beforehand. Ashkenazim will start from Rosh Chodesh, including today, and Sfaradi will start from the end of Rosh Chodesh, if it's now towards the end of Rosh Chodesh. So starting from now, more or less, Sfaradim also don't eat meat and don't drink wine. Okay, so that's the very, very common minhag. I got today a question from someone who has a special diet and they need to eat meat and or chicken, and there's some probably health reasons into it. I'm not sure exactly what's the reason. I didn't go into it, but there's some kind of a diet that they are supposed to do that, and it's not they didn't make up the reason just for now. It's been already for quite some time, a few weeks or a few months or whatever. And there's a halacha that a chole, someone who isn't feeling well, and he needs the strength, he needs the iron or whatever it is to strengthen himself, so he or she can eat meat during that time. So although we have a custom not to eat meat from all the 9 days, someone who isn't feeling well, he needs a chicken soup, right? Chicken soup for the soul, so they can eat chicken soup during the 9 days. Okay? From the beginning already, the custom was only for people who are healthy, they're strong, they can survive without meat and wine, especially since on Shabbat we do eat meat and wine. Okay? So on Shabbat we can eat meat and wine. What is included in this custom not to eat meat and wine? So the custom includes all kinds of meat. Beef and poultry, egg, chicken, cow, doesn't matter. All of them are included. Doesn't matter if it's fresh, frozen, jerky, like the dried meat. If it's hot dogs or sausages, all of those things are forbidden to eat during Tisha B'Av. Fish is permitted. Okay, fish, we can't bring a korban of fish. There's a different feeling of fish, so fish is permitted during the 9 days. Our custom is to refrain not just from meat, but everything which is basari, which means that you can taste the flavor of the meat in it. So if for Shabbos you made a chulant, and on Shabbos you picked out all of the meat, and you finished the meat, and you have the potatoes left and for Sunday, So you can't, and those potatoes obviously have a good taste of flavor of meat in them. So you can't eat those potatoes during the 9 days because you can taste the flavor of the meat inside it. Um, but if you do not taste the flavor of it inside it, so it is permitted. Okay, now, I'm not sure if meat, usually when you cook something with meat, you usually taste it, but with wine, many times you wouldn't taste it so much. You wouldn't know there's wine inside it. For example, if you make soup, so some people make soup with white wine in, and it's not such a big amount of white wine. You feel it adds something, but you can't taste the wine in it. Many times people bake, bake cookies, bake cakes with wine. So you know there's more of a flavor in that cake and more of a flavor in the soup or the cookies, but you can't say, okay, that's the flavor here of wine. So something like that is permitted during the 9 days. We shouldn't lechatchila, like now say, okay, now I'm going to make for the 9 days cookies with wine. Okay, so that's lechatchila we shouldn't do. But if you made it already, so you can eat it during the 9 days. As we mentioned, people who aren't feeling well, that needs to be strong, people just gave birth, pregnant women who need a lot of iron to eat, so they can eat beef without any problem. Again, also sometimes if you have, I think, people have a very low iron, kind of iron, so they can eat also hemoglobin, they can eat meat. They can eat meat. As we mentioned, on Shabbat, we can eat meat, we can drink wine, not this year, but even in a year when Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, and we postpone the fast from Shabbat to Sunday, the Chachamim say that you can eat on that Shabbat like the Seudah, like the meal of Shlomo HaMelech B'Sha'ato. Shlomo HaMelech had very big and rich meals. So even on Shabbat, which is actually Tisha B'Av, you can eat a lot of meat and wine. So obviously on this Shabbat, this coming Shabbat, we can eat meat and wine since there's no avelut on Shabbat. Mourning is only for the weekdays, not on Shabbat, especially not something which is everyone can see. You have here a schnitzel made out of some corn or something like that. You can eat it on Shabbat. If you're cooking now for Shabbat and you want to have a small taste from the chicken soup or from whatever you want to know to add salt or other flavors, you can do it also. Because the purpose of eating on Friday, a small amount, is just it's not for eating, it's just to make sure the food for Shabbat is good. After Shabbat, what do we do after Shabbat? After Shabbat, we have Havdalah, right? So what do we do Havdalah on? What do we do Havdalah on after Shabbat? We have here a Halachot between the Ashkenazim and the Sfaradim, Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. Shulchan Aruch says the person who does Havdalah should drink the wine from Havdalah. Okay, so if you're Sfaradi and you do Havdalah, just take the cup of wine and drink it after Havdalah. That's according to the minhag of the Sfaradim. The Ramah writes to give it to a child. To give it to a child. What child are we looking for? We're looking for a child who already understands the term of brachot, of blessings, and when you said Borei Pri Hagafen, it's also for him. But the child isn't old enough already to feel the tsar of the Churban and to feel the sadness of the Churban. So we're looking for a child who's between 6 and 9. Okay, between 6 and 9, a child between 6 and 9. Very soon we'll explain what happens if we don't have a child like that. So if you have a child who's between 6 and 9, the person says Havdalah, says Hagafen, and then gives that cup to the child. Some poskim write, like Rav Elyashiv, that it needs to be a boy. Okay? There's a reason in Kabbalah that women should not drink from the wine of Motzei Shabbat, of Havdalah. Women can drink the wine of Kiddush. Women should not drink the wine of Motzei Shabbat based on a Kabbalistic reason. It's not because they'll have a mustache, right? It's just because the reasons for Kabbalah. If my girls want to drink the grape juice after Havdalah, so the boys finish the wine of Havdalah, and then I pour for them more wine. But in any case, according to Kabbalah reasons, so girls shouldn't drink the wine of Havdalah, says Rav Elyashiv. Therefore, this child we're looking for should be a boy and not a girl. Okay, so if one has a boy who is between 6 and 9 years old, they know already the meaning of brachot, but they're still too young to mourn about Jerusalem. So you can give them the cup of they drink the cup of wine, and that's what the Rama writes. What happens if there is no such child? No such child. So we have two options. And we'll try to understand what's the best one to do. One is to drink the wine. Okay, to drink the wine. The other option is to do Havdalah on something else. To do Havdalah on beer. Okay, on beer, for example. So we have two options. The Rama, after he wrote that our custom is to give the cup of wine to a child, the Rama writes that if there's no child, the person who does Havdalah, he will drink the wine. The person who does Havdalah, he will drink the wine. What's the reason for it? As we mentioned, from the din of Chazal, from our sages, the time that we aren't supposed to eat meat and drink wine is only on Suda Mafseket, only on the meal just before the fast. We have a custom already for hundreds of years that we refrain from meat and wine for all the 9 days, but according to the Shulchan Aruch, and also the Rama seems to accept it at least in some aspects, this custom does not include when there's a mitzvah. So when you have a mitzvah to do Havdalah, and the mitzvah to do Havdalah is on a cup of wine, so the custom not to drink grape juice or wine doesn't include this mitzvah. Okay, so therefore there's no problem to drink the cup of wine. The same as, we'll get to it with Hashem soon, some people do a siyum masechet or other Sudat mitzvah and eat meat. Also, the same way, you can do Havdalah. It's a mitzvah to drink the wine. We drink the wine without any problem. Okay, so that's what the Rama says. Some people don't want to drink the wine, but they instead do Havdalah on beer. And I think, as we mentioned many times in the past, that minhag isn't so, it's a bit complicated. Okay, it's not so pashut that you can do such a thing. Especially when here it's so simple to do Havdalah and drink the cup of wine. Doing Havdalah on beer isn't so simple. And the reason is because Chazal said you do Havdalah on a cup of wine, which is important. Okay, there's importance in wine. Maybe, it seems like that Rashi in Masechet Nazir, the beginning of Masechet Nazir, he holds that Kiddush, and Kiddush at least, on wine is a mitzvah midoraita. Okay, Kiddush on wine is a mitzvah midoraita. Therefore, according to Rashi, a Nazir who is forbidden, he cannot drink wine. Therefore, a Nazir can drink wine for Kiddush. Okay, so maybe Havdalah isn't the same as Kiddush, it's Halachot Rishonim, but according to Rashi, doing Havdalah on wine is so important that even a Nazir can drink wine. Okay, so not all of the Rishonim, perhaps also most of the Rishonim, do not accept Rashi's opinion, but still you can see that Havdalah on wine or Kiddush on wine is important. It's not so simple that you can do Kiddush on beer. Beer, you need to have Chamar Medina, something which is important, and that's the main drink of the country. And what's the main drink? Beer, Coke, whiskey. Well, what's the main drink? Beer perhaps can still be something important. So maybe beer, but Coke? Some people don't drink Coke. Okay, zero. Some people don't drink zero. Some people drink only natural fruit juices. What's the important drink of today? So it's hard to coffee. Coffee is just water. Cappuccino. There's no important drink we say today. That is the important drink of that area, okay, of the people who live in the area. So it's not so simple that today we have something called Chamar Medina. Therefore, the most simple thing to do is just to drink the cup of wine at home. Some people try to find a trick, and they go into even a bigger problem, or a problem. Say, okay, let's do Havdalah in shul. Many people will do Havdalah together, and then we'll give the wine to a kid, or one person will drink for everyone. But then they come home and they say, 1 second, I have a wife, and I have to do Havdalah also for her. It's not so simple that a man who was Yotzi Yedei Chovah of Havdalah, it's not so simple he can do Havdalah for his wife, because maybe the level of obligation is different between men and women. And since the level of obligation is different between men and women, if a man was already Yotzi Yedei Chovah in Havdalah, it's not so simple that he can do Havdalah to his wife. So, conclusion, if you don't have a child who is between 6 and 9 years old, don't have a boy who's between 6 and 9 years old, do Havdalah on grape juice and drink the grape juice and say Hagafen beforehand and Al Hagafen afterwards. What about a siyum or seudat mitzvah? So it says in halacha that if you have a seudat mitzvah, so you can eat the meat meal on the seudat mitzvah. But the poskim say it's only a seudat mitzvah that people are used to bringing meat to that seudat mitzvah. So, for example, a brit milah, many people, especially in Israel, have a meat meal for a brit. Pidyon haben, okay, it's very, very common. Siyum masechet, I have never been to a siyum masechet which wasn't on the 9 days that people had meat on that siyum masechet. Okay, I've never been. Only on the 9 days, all of a sudden people say, wow, siyum masechet, let's have meat on a siyum masechet. It's not so simple that we can have a siyum during the 9 days and eat meat. Many poskim say you can't. You just can't do it, okay? You can't have a siyum in the 9 days and have meat. If we have maybe other reasons to join into it, so then we can say, okay, let's have also siyum masechet and another reason so we can also eat meat. Okay, for example, if people are camping in army bases, for example, now, and they're in training and they need a lot of proteins and they can't always get it, and say, okay, so there's a need here. Maybe they're considered like a choleh, someone who needs these proteins to make him strong. So let's also have a siyum masechet, and that will join together. Otherwise, it's not so simple that one can do a siyum masechet and eat meat for a siyum masechet. Also, it's not so simple that one can say, 1 second, I finished the masechet 2 weeks ago, but I'll wait 2 weeks and I'll learn the last 2 lines during the 9 days, so I'll be able to eat meat. Many times Chazal said, Kedai ubeit Elokenu. Our temple is worth it for us for a few days a year to recognize and say, wow, we had a temple, we had something great and big and holy. We need to realize what we are missing, what we are lacking. Although we have now, Baruch Hashem, we have a state, we have an army, and we have independence, and we have a good economy, we are still lacking the heart of the nation, the Beit HaMikdash. So it's worth it for a few days a year to remember it and not eat meat. I'm sure all of the people who are vegetarian can certainly agree with it. He'll say to us, okay, a few days a year, it is fine. So that's about eating meat. Laundry in the 9 days, and with that we will conclude. One of the things we refrain from during the 9 days is doing laundry. When we laundry, we are putting our emphasis into our good feelings. We can survive and live very well without changing our clothes. I can tell you for times, not now in the army, that sometimes you are for a week with the same shirt, it sticks to your body, but you survive, and Baruch Hashem, nothing happens unless it's fine. So washing your clothes, it's something which is more for the pleasure. More for the pleasure. So before Tisha B'Av, before the 9 days, we wash all of our clothes, and we wear them for a few minutes before Tisha B'Av, before the 9 days, before Rosh Chodesh Av. So when we get to wearing 9 clothes, we don't have the fresh feeling of 9 clothes. Today, we became very picky. And after I wore a shirt for 1 day, I said, that doesn't smell well, it doesn't feel well, I can't wear a shirt like that outside, okay? I just can't. And today we say, we expect it to wear deodorant, we expect it to smell nice, to look nice, and not having clean clothes, it's different the way we feel today. So sometimes people will say, okay, I can wear a shirt for 1 day, 2 days, especially if you have small kids and they get you dirty. And what do I do after the fifth day of the 9 days? What do I do? So the best thing is, as I said, to make sure you have clothes and prepare everything beforehand. But if for some reason one prepared clothes, a question I had today for someone in base said, look, I have how many sets of army clothes do I have? I have only 2 sets, 3 sets. I sweated so much during the patrols and whatever. Can I wash my clothes when I get home? And the answer is yes. If someone doesn't have clothes in the 9 days, he can wash his clothes on the 9 days. But before you wear them, put them on the floor, walk on them a bit, so they don't have the fresh feeling of wearing night clothes. The forbidden of laundry of the 9 days is also for doing laundry and also for wearing a clean clothes. That's the forbidden, but when we are permitted to do it, for example, clothes of small kids who all the time get dirty, and there's no way that you can have a big stock of clothes to last them for 9 days, so we can prepare it for before the 9 days, and we can also wash it during the 9 days. And one more halacha about washing. After Tisha B'Av in a regular year, we also don't wash the clothes until Chatzot of the day, at least for Ashkenazim. So after Tisha B'Av, on the 10th of Av, we don't wash the clothes until Chatzot. This year, Tisha B'Av is on Thursday, which means that the 10th day is Friday, and we need to get ready for Shabbat. So already after Tisha B'Av, for sure in the morning, but if needed also in the nighttime, we can start washing the clothes and getting ready for Shabbat and having haircuts for Shabbat because of the honor of Shabbat. We don't eat meat on the night of the 10th of Av until the day of the 10th of Av, but laundry and things like that we can do on after Tisha B'Av to get ready for Shabbat. And as we mentioned in this shirim, we pray, daven, that we will feel the lack of Tisha B'Av, and therefore also we will be zoche to see our temple, Beit Mikdash, being built, and we'll celebrate next Tisha B'Av, maybe even this Tisha B'Av, we'll have a great barbecue together, and afterwards, because of the barbecue, we'll need to wash our clothes, and we'll be happy to do it on Tisha B'Av.